Hello, FX Sabers. Today I'm bringing you another hilt, fresh off my bench. This is an MHS Starkiller. It was actually already built when I got it. It belongs to, well, it will belong to a member of the forums, Clark Kent. He was asking around about custom blasters, and I told him I have one that might be coming up for sale, and he said he's interested, so he gets first dibs on it when it's done. So we were talking, and he said, yeah, I just got this Starkiller hilt, and it was damaged in customs. Well, I'll tell you what, customs didn't do it by themselves. He was like, yeah, it's just the LED needs resoldered and stuff. And I thought, oh, that's no problem. Send it to me and I'll do it, no problem, like nothing. Well, it wasn't that simple. This is some of the wiring that just pulled right off of everything. It was run by a single 14500 battery, which, while some have successfully run petit croutons off of 3.7 volts, they're not recommended to be run off of 3.7 volts. And I'm not going to argue with whoever does run them off of 3.7 volts, but in my personal experience, I have not been able to run a petit crouton off of 3.7 volts. And this pommel insert, first off, this recharge port was twisted in, the threads were mangled by needle nose pliers. You know, all this wiring just pulled right off. So it was basically a full reinstall. And since I'm not a mining colony member and can't take commissions, I had to think quickly, and I said, well, I'm going to buy the hilt from you, and I'm going to fix it up, and then you can buy it back from me at a little bit of a higher price because of the upgrades and the labor fees. And he said, you know what, that's fine, let's do it. I want it to be right. So I went ahead and sent the Petit Crouton 1.5 into a flash and a volume hack by MH. He's always super helpful and super quick on his any work that I have him, that I ask him to do for me. All of these on the hilt just snapped right off. This bunny ears just snapped off. They were sloppily super glued, so was this. And this fake eye down here, and these skeletal bars too. The only reason I put these back on is because he really wanted it, and the only thing I could do was put them back where they were, which wasn't really a very good thing to start with. Same thing with these Graflex pins. There wasn't much that I could do with my my modest tooling that I have. Hopefully soon I'll be able to do some of that stuff on a lathe or whatever, but not at the moment. The wires routed through here. I have 7 wires going behind this shroud, and they're going in the 2 grooves of the ribbed V-grooved extension. Not fun. Well, I shouldn't say not fun. It's always fun to have a challenge like that, but it wasn't easy, I should say. Activation auxiliary. This is nothing. It works, but it doesn't do anything. This CoverTech wheel was way off center. The best I could do with it, with the existing hole, was line it up with everything, but have it slightly off center. And it still covers the hole that was there. Oh yeah, the shroud was just sloppily super glued in place. Everything that was super glued either got JB welded or it got a set screw in the case of the shroud. The main blade set screw is right here, and if you unscrew that, whoops, sorry, I knocked the camera out of my hand. If you unscrew that all the way, pull the blade out, and stick a wrench all the way through on the exact far side of this screw, there's another set screw that presses up against right behind this button and holds this shroud in place. It was all loose and stuff without the super glue, and this doesn't even really hold it in place because the hole in the shroud's too big. So that was a great solution to that problem. The CoverTech knob I moved to. This is the first actually drilling and tapping I've done into a hilt, and I was pretty pleased by how easily it went. But you know, it was nothing fancy. It was just the first time I'd actually done it on a hilt and not just some 440 rod, or 3/16 aluminum rods or something. I added a little bit of weathering to this, not much, just a little bit, a little bit here where it makes sense. He didn't want me to repaint the whole thing, and that's all right. But I added it where it made sense. There's a lot of smeared on weathering where it doesn't make sense, and there was none where it did make sense. So I put a lot where it did make sense. Like the edges of this control box here had nothing. That's like the number one spot because your fingers can't touch that even when you're trying to clean it. The grips I put on, nothing fancy again there. Just I was asked to put them on, so I did. 2.1 millimeter recharge port going from the pommel up, 1.5 watt Comatone speaker, T-Crouton 1.6 flash on clash, TCSS 14650 pack, 7.4 volt, 10. It's 1,050 milliamp hours, I believe. The crystal was sloppily hot glued. All of this was hot glued in there, and the crystal was just attached by hot glue all the way down. I epoxied that nice. The LED that was light illuminating it was just twisted up and shoved up in there. There's exposed wires in this chamber just at the top and at the bottom here because that's the way this hilt came to me, and there wasn't much I could do with it at that point without starting from scratch. LED engine, 10 watt RGBW. The red is the main blade and the white is the flash on clash. I'll go ahead and fire it up. The sound font, I'll say I didn't agree with it, but I don't hate it. He wanted Ancient Saber, so that's what I gave him. I'll go ahead and fire it up.
I bring Darth Vader's enemies to justice.
Of course, that's Starkiller himself, Galen Merrick, Sam Witwer. This is probably the brightest single red dye I've done, and it doesn't look like it because there's lights on all over the place. I'll catch a few lights real quick. Oh, obviously the chamber illuminates with the same frequency as the blade. You can see the holes in the heatsink actually illuminate down the chamber too. That was pretty cool. The white flash there. That blade is also an ultra edge that has no film in it, so keep that in mind when you're trying to see how bright this is. Alright, that's it. See you guys later, and thanks for watching.